Guys, our next topic is a little bit serious, so we're not going to try and dwell on it too much. But, you know, just before you were talking about issues that, or just feeling down throughout the week. And I think part of that is connected to the news that happened last week with Charlie Kirk, the American political commentator in America, who was gunned down whilst giving speech, whilst having kind of like his political debate event
A
thing.
debate, yeah.
Yeah, that's what he does, and that's his shtick. And, you know, it was pretty awful in particular, I think, especially, you know, you brought up how crazy it is that you even said a couple of weeks ago, we were talking in
I
private.
did say this, yeah.
That
yeah.
we are living in an age where a political assassination is going to happen, or
Yeah.
whenever it does happen, we're going to see it just live streamed on camera, or we're going to see multiple angles.
Just
And-
multiple angles. Everyone's filming. In crowds these days, everyone's filming. So,
and that is exactly what I saw with this Charlie Kirk thing. I mean, within maybe the first 3 hours of it happening, I had seen like 3 different angles, which is just so crazy and insane. And I know some people would say, oh, we'll just get off social media. Obviously, it's, you know, when something so awful happens, I also want to know what's going on. You know what I mean? You want to be able to check, like, what are the updates? What are they finding out? Did they catch the guy? Because they didn't catch him right away. At first, they didn't know if Charlie would survive. And so you're wanting to find out all these updates to what's happening. And you end up seeing some really gruesome, awful, footage of just such a horrible crime. And I think it's so important that we look at things like that when they happen and we just say that, you know, political violence is just not how we want to operate in the political space. You know, people can say, and that's the thing with free speech, right? You can say things that are reasonable and you can also say things that are unreasonable, which I think, you know, on a personal level, my opinions contrasted to Charlie Kirk's opinions. I didn't agree with a lot of the things that he believed, pretty staunchly so. But again, that's the thing about free speech. It doesn't matter what the difference is in your opinion and theirs. You're all supposed to be allowed to say it and not worried about having violence done upon you for having an opinion that, you know, might be vile or gross or whatever. Like, it's not, the response to that to me is like, you have to respond with better speech and make better arguments and actually talk out these issues, do discussions. I mean, I don't think his debates always lived up to that ideal of like really talking things out and getting to the core of the issue, but at least he was kind of making an effort. Like, at least there's something there that could have been improved upon and, you know, could have become a better part of the culture if it had time and if he had time to be alive and develop it, you know?
Well, yeah, well, I think that what happened is just like, it doesn't like, I mean, it just sets us back, I think. And it truly is like, I mean, it is like worldwide news. Like, I don't know. When I first heard about it, I was wondering how the world would treat it. But I've been seeing it everywhere. Everyone talking about it, everyone's opinions. And like, I don't know. Maybe I'm a fool for thinking this, but I didn't think that it would be as big as it was. Like, but, you know, everyone's talking about it. And, yeah, it really messed me up. Because I second what you said. Like, I really didn't agree with him at all. But just seeing everyone's reaction to it and, you know, I would consider myself a lib, I guess, if you can. I hate being into
I can believe
categories.
I can believe it.
God, you sound like Jimmy from America, my good friend. Well, look, no, I mean, that's the thing, though, you know, it's like, I don't like to be put in this box, and I think that, like, you know, there are a lot of libs out there who are celebrating this. I just think that's, I mean, it really fucked me up. I don't know. It generally, like, I think this is where my mood started. Like, because, like, on Thursday, I just felt terrible and just afraid of the world. You know, I want to have children. I want to have a family. And it's like, what kids am I bringing into this world when I have them? Like, is it something that's even, I know you shouldn't be set back, but is it even something that is even safe anymore? Because there's a lot of times where I'm like, you know, what is this world? Because like I was saying on Friday with someone who has like anxiety and stuff, and you know, and depression, which I'm very prone to.
Yeah.
Like my biggest fear is like the world going out of control and living in like a madhouse. And it's like when you see things like this, it kind of like what is the what are you supposed to tell yourself? You know,
Sure.
I think a thing as well that Americans don't really understand about other countries is that like we do also have like freedom of speech and we believe in freedom of speech. I feel like Americans get up in arms about it, like no other country has it, and it's a thing that we hold sacred. It's like, okay,
no, it's like
everyone does. Like,
we don't have it enshrined in our laws, but freedom of speech is incredibly important culturally in this country, and we value it incredibly. Like it still matters to us, and it still matters around the world, even if we don't have it as constitutionally, guaranteed as America does. One more thing that I just want to bring up with regards to this topic, I think, you hit on it with some of the people that have either been, I think on the worst side of the spectrum, you have people who are celebrating what's happened, and I think that's just gross and disgusting and frankly just unnecessary. I just don't think it really helps the situation and moves dialogue forward in any kind of a helpful way. I think what I find really sad about all of this is that it just feels like there's this unshakable nihilism that has like taken over everyone. It feels like, particularly in the American political like dialogue, where people feel so disconnected and like I don't know, hateful of whoever's in power that it's almost feels like it's weak, or it's like giving the other side a win if you actually mourn someone who dies, and it becomes this like how do I signal that I'm still on the right side in the way that I respond to this, and everyone gets reactionary about it, and everyone feels like they have to drop the hottest take or the most interesting kind of maybe funny reaction or like dark humor or whatever they want to sort of approach with it. And I just think that most of that kind of discourse just takes things to a more toxic place. And I think what I really think is the best answer to something like nihilism is to have some amount of like hope in humanity. And I know that sounds corny and cheesy, but like
no, that's what we need to hear right now. So
actually try and reach out to people, make connections with people that you maybe don't understand or maybe don't agree with, and like try to just treat each other like human beings, and don't get further stuck in on either side,
Yeah, I said that on my family were away on Thursday, and I joined them later on the Saturday. I drove like 2 hours for my dad's birthday, and we were having like lunch and stuff, and it came up, the conversation, which I knew it would. And it can get, it can get quite dicey. My family pretty much all like disagree with my takes, most of them at least. And I've learned to become more respectful, I guess. But a point I made on Saturday, which they all agreed with, was that like I just said like end of the day, when like now that something like this has happened, I think we all just have to learn to live with each other and just coexist. Because what's happened is like, unfortunately, I think it's not going to end here. I would love to say it would, but I don't want to be living in a world where this happens. And when stuff like that does happen, end of the day, we're all just bacteria on a floating rock. Like, and I hate this idea these days, or maybe it was always like this, that like, we've always constantly got to be up in arms and fighting for our opinions. I don't know if that's something that's happened in the last 10 years or if that's something that's been happening for the last 10 gazillion years. I don't know. Maybe cavemen were fighting over shit. I don't know. I do know is that it's just kind of one of those things where you hear it and you're like, because I was staying off social media to avoid the cricket score, so I just tuned into H3 and they spoke about it on there, and I was just driving and I was like, wait, what? Like I couldn't believe it. I genuinely couldn't believe it. And not a single part of me was happy about it. I completely disagreed with him, but I was generally just so shocked and saddened, and is saddened a word? But it just genuinely, it blew my mind, and I couldn't believe it, and I don't think I've gotten over it. It's probably one of the worst things I've ever seen. I think I said actually on Friday, like generally, it's one of the worst things I've ever seen. And you're right, awful. Yes, you can stay off social media, but like, I like sending you memes on Twitter, so and you shouldn't stop doing what
It's like saying you shouldn't cross the road because traffic is dangerous. Like you should be able to venture out into the online world, without being fucking assaulted by this awful video. You know, I will also say on the point that I made about nihilism, you know, I think people they don't have a lot, they just don't have a lot of hope that things can get better. And so when something bad happens, it's like, oh, all I can do is make fun of it, or like, why should I care about even trying to make things better, because everything sucks and it's always going to suck, so I'm just giving up. And it's like, that's such a hopeless and bleak way to look at it. And I think it sounds so corny to be like, yeah, we need to try and regain some hope in humanity, but it's true. I don't know, I think you have to try and make a better situation out of what we have, because otherwise it's just going to get worse.
It's just so hard right now with like everything with like Russia and Ukraine and like Israel and Palestine, and now there's this in America, there's all this stuff going on in England, and like there was even, you know, protests in Australia, which is like normally a very peaceful place. And it kind of feels like, you know, God, where do I turn? Like, everything, it just feels like everything's just going to shit. And it just like, you know, I know that was your whole point then about not being like that. And I really don't want to be. And I'm particularly in a bit of a slump today. But I'm just lost for words. Like, it boggles my mind. I don't know, like, I don't know really what to do or say anymore, you know. I will forever, you know, hope that things get better. But, you know, when you see things like that, you know, it just hurts too much. I don't know. I don't know what kind of world I will bring future children into. And that's a horrible feeling to have. You don't want to be feeling like that, but
honestly, with everything that has happened and that we've literally seen play out, I think, again, I understand feeling like there's not a lot of hope and there's not a lot to it. And I don't want anyone to feel bad for feeling bleak about all this. But I guess you can't lose your own personal humanity in this. Yeah. I've seen a lot of people, it feels like, especially in the response, you know, some people, not all people obviously, but some fringe people who are responding with like glee and cheer over the death and everything. And I think they're just so like lost and hopeless.
I'm glad I'm not like that. Because not a single part of me was happy that it happened.
That's what's called losing your personal values and your personal humanity. You know, like, you want to try and retain that, and that means that even if it was someone who you disagree with, don't take the cheap political fucking rally cry. Just say, no, we need to not have this be how things are. You know, that's really important.
I just don't want to be like, you know, we get to the point where we... Sorry, my switch is not working.
Yeah.
I would have switched for you, but... Sorry, last bit on this, because we should line up a little bit, or more me. But I forgot what I was saying. It's just that depressing.
You get lost.
Who said Mondays had to be depressing?
And get lost in it.
It's just, I mean, generally, it's like, you know...
No, I guess...
It's hard. I feel like I don't really have much more to say on it, because, like, I'm just so, like...
So the only other thing I would want to mention in terms of like our coverage or whatever would be the shooter was caught and they did catch the guy.
Do they know if it's actually him though?
Yeah. So it's definitely the guy. He was matched up with security footage. His dad turned him in.
Yeah, I heard about that.
He got, I guess he confessed to his dad, and then the dad called like a minister or a pastor or something, some religious like authority. And the guy came and he also notified the police. So then they came and picked him up. So it's definitely the guy. And from what we can tell, like, I know people want to jump quickly to like, was he left or right? I know a lot of people have been asking that question. To me, it just looks like a real nail on the head of the pattern that we see of these like young, usually men, but just young people that fall out of like civil society. They just fall away from all connection to like real people and genuine community, and like they just lose their sense of humanity, and they fall into these usually online rabbit holes. They go really deep, they get really radicalized. And when I say radicalized, I don't even mean
stay off Reddit, kids.
Like one way or the other. It's like you become radically like online and just torn away from normalcy. Like, it's okay to be a bit of a normie, guys. You know, you don't like being a bit online is fine and that's cool, but when you go so far down the online rabbit hole that you lose all humanity, and Charlie Kirk becomes like a target for you to just, I can shoot it, and then that's what I want to do. It's like, that's gross, man. You've lost your sense of humanity at that point.
And in these days, like, getting away with something is like next to impossible.
I don't think he thought he would. I mean, what was he thinking? I don't think he was.
I don't know.
He's 22 years old.
That's the thing. It's like, how can you get away with things these days? Like, everything is just. I mean, it was a security footage that didn't his dad say, like, this looks like you?
I think he suspected it was his shoes, I think, were a match.
Well, you know what your son looks like, yeah.
And, he's like, I bought those shoes for that kid, like.
I mean, what's that family going through? I mean, my God, I mean, what? What do you say and what can you say? Like, generally, like, it's just so. What is this planet?
And, I guess if we're going to end the segment, I think it would be appropriate to just, I think, remind everyone that he had a wife and 2 kids. And, you might disagree with some things that the wife says or whatever, but I think you got to respect that she's just lost her husband. And
yeah, she's grieving.
I think we should feel bad for that family and send our kind of, I'm not really a prayers guy, I'm not religious, but I think you got to send some positive energy and good thoughts their way. I guess that's like secular prayer. So that's my hopefully heartfelt message on that.
Cool. Thank you.